Wow, wow, wow. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Knocks to Nuggets. My name is Oluwayomi Ute, and it's such a joy to come your way this very beautiful Monday morning. It's really an amazing time to be alive. And today I have a very interesting conversation. And I also have a guest with me in the house. I should be taking on this conversation. So today we're talking about preparing for blissful marriage. And so with me in the house today is somebody who guides young professionals to intentionally design and build healthy and long lasting marriages. She's certified Symbis Save Your Marriage Before It Starts facilitator. The Symbis assessment gives you a personalized roadmap for making your marriage everything it was meant to be. She's also a certified family systems engineering practitioner. The network of FSE practitioners comprises professionals who work to restore dignity to human relationships in marriage, parenting, and family life. My guest has varied experiences. She graduated with a first class honors in chemical engineering from University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University. And she then worked with the Central Bank of Nigeria building and engineering services for 17 years before setting up a specialty retail bookstore business, which she operated for 13 years. She has served on the national executive committees of two business membership organizations, Christian Booksellers Association of Nigeria and NECA's Network of Entrepreneurial Women. She is currently a member of the board of OSAS International, publishers of the Africa Study Bible, chair board of Africa Speaks 2018 Trust. She's an avid reader. She's passionate about relationships and marriages. She mentors young people, helping them to chart their life's path. She teaches on marriage topics daily in the Fit Marriage Academy, a Facebook community that currently has over 19,000 members. She's also the counselor on the popular weekly relationship and marriage show, Mama's Corner, on Wazobia 95.1 FM. She's the author of Marriage is Not a Trap and 30 Reasons Why Couples Quarrel About Money. She is happily married to her husband of over 37 years, and they are blessed with four amazing children. Ladies and gentlemen, in the house with me today is somebody we all popularly call Mommy Mo, Mojukwe Ehirim. Hey, good to have you in the house.
Good morning, Oluwayomi. Thank you for having me.
Wow, so good to have you. And a good shout out to all my guests that are online real time. Thank you so much for your time. I don't take you for granted at all. And thank you to everyone that will watch thereafter. Like I will always say, like the video, share it, let somebody out there know that there is something called Knocks to Nuggets. And yes, like somebody just said, an impressive CV indeed. I'm actually going to ask you, maybe at another edition, sometime when you're not talking marriage, this combination, how did you move from chemical engineering to counseling? Conversation for another day. But you're very much welcome, ma. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for doing this.
Thank you very much for having me.
And ma, I'm just thinking, and my first question to you is blissful marriage. Is it possible?
A blissful marriage is possible. In the world
Hmm.
today, there are many, and when I say many, I literally mean many thousands of people having blissful marriages. I think let's look at the word blissful. Bliss
Hmm.
means a state of ease, a state of, comfort, a state of settlement, stability. So when something is in a state of bliss, it doesn't mean that things are not happening around it. It just means that that thing or that person has the capacity to continue remaining stable in spite of all that is happening
Hmm.
around it. And there are blissful marriages. I always say to people, before my parents died, I was privileged to have lived with them for 60 years. my parents were married for 60 and 4 years, 4 months before the my mother died. Who I know who have been married for 50, 60, 70 years. I'm talking of people I know, not that they told me. So I know them. I've interacted with them over the years, and I have seen that they truly enjoy what we call a blissful marriage. Not a marriage that is free of trouble, but a
Mm.
marriage where, regardless of what is happening in it, they're able to look at one another in the face, hold one another's hand, and walk through life together. That's what I
Mm.
would call a blissful marriage.
Mm. Thank you, man. I mean, you said something and I just had to write it down. It has the capacity to remain stable. And that is huge. I know, talking to you this morning, all over the social media is a story about the couple. And it's so much. I've listened to
Mm.
different sides of that one coin. And some people say, yes, it's good. Some people say, no, that is rubbish. And I'm wondering, maybe following this issue of blissful marriage will be the question. Is there a particular right person to marry?
Hmm. That's a question that I get asked often and again. Is there the one person that you must meet? And if you miss them, your life is in ruins. No,
Okay.
absolutely no. I think before you can determine, you can give an answer to that question, is there the right person? We need to go back and understand what is marriage at all. One
Mm.
thing that I say to people is that there are as many definitions of marriage in this world as there are human beings. The challenge is that we all assume that there is one universal definition of marriage. Indeed, there is a one general understanding of marriage, which is that men and women come together in marriage. I call that mountain. But once you start coming down the mountaintop closer to the ground, you'll be seeing more details. And so what happens is that, yes, marriage is man and woman coming together, but depending on the community, depending on what is accepted norm, depending on their paradigm, see different things. So you'd see for some people, marriage is a man and woman coming together, and then the man is a breadwinner and the woman is a stay-at-home mom. For some other people, you see, um, marriage is a man and woman, but infidelity is allowed. For some other people, you see, marriage is between man and woman, but you see, the woman too can do everything, and so on and so forth. And so, because we assume that marriage has a universal definition, there is only one way then of getting it right, and that is, especially for believers, if God can show me the person that if I marry this person, then everything will be okay. That for me is looking.
Mm. Wow. Are we losing Mommy Mo at this point? Wow, 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 wow. Network will not fail at all. I think we're losing her a bit, but she will be back shortly. And something she said that just struck me is this: blissful is not trouble free. The fact that you say is blissful is not trouble free. She's back. So let's go back to her right away. Do I have her back in the house?
That single definition and the desire to experience.
Wow. I'm sure she'll be back shortly. The network is just playing its own. But this conversation, we're going to have it and we're going to enjoy it. Trust me. Network or no network, we'll have it and enjoy it. So she was saying something that blissful does not mean trouble free. So, yes, the fact that we are two individuals living in the same house, automatically there'll be reasons to brush at each other, there'll be reasons to disagree, there'll be reasons to have diverse opinion on issues, but that doesn't mean we cannot remain stable. And I love that definition, that to have a blissful home is to have the capacity to remain stable. It's got to be a give and take. And she said something that there is not just one man or just one woman right for the other person. So it's not a case of if I don't meet Mr. A, I cannot enjoy marriage. No, that's what she's giving us the answer to. So follow us. She's back in. Yes,
Okay.
welcome back, ma.
Sorry, sorry about that. So
Yes.
when you understand that marriage itself is something, it's like me. I studied chemical engineering, and then for me to begin to think there is a particular school I must go to if I am going to be a good chemical engineer. Now, that sounds reasonable, but the thing is that there are many schools that are offering chemical engineering. What will help me to make a good choice is I know myself, number one, who am I? What is the kind of character I have? How do I like to study? What do I want to do with the degree eventually? What is my vision for the future? So invariably, when all of the schools are placed before me, using what I know about myself and using what I know about what they have to offer, I am now in a position to make a choice. Now, even when I make the choice of the school and I go to the school, what will make me a good chemical engineer is what I choose to do with the course that they are providing. It is how I choose to live my life. So for somebody like me, for example, now, after having first class honors in chemical engineering, I still went on and started doing things that are totally unrelated to chemical engineering. Is it the fault of the school I went to?
No.
Absolutely no. Part of what I found out later was my ill preparation for a career is actually what made me not to know which direction to go after I had such a fantastic degree in chemical engineering. That's what marriage also is like. What kind of preparation have you had for marriage as an individual? And I don't talk of the kind of things that you meet as an adult. I'm talking of how was marriage modeled for you? How is marriage looked at
Mm.
in your community? Do you even understand what marriage means to a community? Do you know why we go into marriage? Do you know the kind of commitments that are required in marriage and so on and so forth? Not having this background knowledge is what makes us to be grasping for, is there a way I can choose so choosing the right person is like a talisman that
Mm.
if I get the right person, then everything will be okay. Because one of the things that amuses me and saddens me at the same time as a marriage educator and counselor is when I meet people who are absolutely certain that God spoke to them that they should marry somebody. And then a few years later, they're so unhappy, and and I have to say to them, did you not hear God? So the hearing God or not hearing God is part of it. However, there is a whole lot more that is required in order for that person to be right for you. So I would rather say that two people who are adequately prepared for marriage can then begin to look at, do our personalities match? Are we compatible? And things like that. And then they would fit in with one another. It is their adequate preparation that helps them to choose the person that is right for them.
Wow. Adequate preparation. Hmm. This issue of preparation, Mommy Mo, what does it mean to prepare for marriage? Because you say,
Okay.
I'm wondering, so what do I need to do to prepare for marriage?
Okay. And that's a really great question that I wish many people ask, even those of us who are teaching people to prepare for marriage. One fundamental flaw that all of us need to guard against is we all have had experiences of marriage, and in today's world, we even have more awareness of bad marriages. So, what we think about preparation generally is just how do we help people to avoid having a bad marriage? That's what most people consider preparation, but that's not preparation. So, here is what I think preparation, which is adequate, should be. The first step is, when you arrive at adulthood, say 20, 21, 22. The truth is that at that point in time, some images, some paradigms, some perspectives about marriage has already been built in your mind. The only thing is that you are not conscious of it.
True.
The first preparation as an adult is that, can I make conscious? Can I become aware? What do I know about marriage? What did I learn about marriage? Who taught it to me?
Hmm. Hmm.
What are the things that I learned? Because until you know what you know about marriage, you can't begin additional preparation. So, for example, if you grew up in a home where your parents had a healthy relationship, what it means is that what you have come up with is a healthy relationship. I know how to, I know how to resolve issues. I know how to do things together. But in the world, not everybody has that experience. So
Hmm.
if you come with that image, you are likely to be looking at everybody as being able to do that. So when you're going to choose, you will be paying attention to red flags, for example. Not
Hmm.
because you are foolish, but because you don't even know that your map of the world is not the only map of the world. For the other person who also grew up maybe in a dysfunctional home, that's the model they have of marriage, or a dysfunctional community. They don't know that that is not the right model for marriage. So different variations.
Wow. 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 This is really a complex matter. Different variations, different strokes for different folks. Wow. Network will have to cooperate with us today, whether he likes it or not. This matter is very important. And by the way, good news, she's back with us next week, Monday again, still on this. But this network, someone should tell it to cooperate with us. She said something very key: preparing for marriage. Who taught you what you know about marriage? And have you thought about it? How did I even know what marriage is? I mean, that sets me thinking, who taught me what I know about marriage? Clearly, it's the models of people I saw around. Who is around you? Have you thought about it? For that single person who is looking around and saying, I want to get married, what is your definition of marriage? What do you actually think that marriage is? Are you looking for that Mr. Right, tall, dark, handsome, six pack or nine packs or 12? Or are there values you are looking at? Even you yourself, how prepared are you for marriage? These are very key things. And preparation starts with the modeling of marriage around us, the community where we grow. And for those who are married, this is a note of caution. Somebody's reality is being defined by you. Somebody is looking at you and saying, this is the way marriage should be. I had a very funny story. Now, you might think it's funny, you might laugh it off, you might think it's just one of those jokes, but it's real. A woman who did not understand why her husband would not beat her. As far as she was concerned, if I do something wrong, my husband beats me out of love. And I'm like, excuse me. But that's all she knew about marriage. She had seen her father beat her mother, and her mother would come back and say, I'm sorry, sir. Like you spank a 5-year-old or a 7-year-old who will come back again and say sorry. So when she got married and her husband said, I can't beat you, I'm trained not to beat, she didn't understand that. As far as she was concerned, for you to show that you love me, that you're able to discipline me. And I'm like, hello, excuse me, how? But that's a definition of marriage, unfortunately. So, really, marriage is an interesting thing. We have clarified, we have settled something clearly today, that marriage is beautiful. That we have settled. Number two, marriage can be blissful. Number three, you have got to be prepared for marriage. So, yes, ma'am, you are welcome back into the
Okay,
studio.
sorry about that.
Not at
So
all.
that's the very first step. Prepare yourself. You need to even know, where am I coming from? And the people usually ask me this question, but ma, Our forefathers, our grandparents didn't need to do that. And this is what I say to them. So 100 years ago, 80 years ago, even 50 years ago, chances are that if you want to marry, you're going to be marrying somebody who was born in the same locality as you, who was nurtured in the same locality as you, a small geographical location. So perspectives on life, paradigms of life, they're similar. Both of you have had shared life experiences. Your families probably even know one another. So when you meet and you want to marry, there is not a lot of understanding and adjustment. You are thinking literally the same way. You are having the same vision for life. But in today's world, even your neighbor in the next compound, you don't know anything about them. So you need to know where you are coming from, what your paradigms about life is. Then you need to know yourself. What's your personality? What are the beliefs that you have? How have your experiences shaped you? What are the expectations that you have? So, for example, I tell the young people, the young women around me, and the young men to my own children, I say, please, if you meet somebody who's coming from a family where the mom is not working, or the women in that family are not career people, please put a pause and discuss some things really deeply. Why? My mother worked. All the women I know are career women. I myself, I have been a career woman all my life. My sisters, all the women my children know are career women. What it means is that whether they're aware of it or not, in their mind, a woman can combine career and home
Hmm.
seamlessly. That nobody ever talks about that, but that is there. The thing is that somebody else who grew up in a different environment also has that. So when they are doing I love you, and they are preparing for marriage, they're not thinking of all that. When they start living together, they can make accommodations, over a short period of time. But when the young lady who came from a career background begins to think, is this how my life is going to be for the next something years? That's where they'll begin to have problems. So, step number one for preparation: know where you are coming from, know your history, know what your community thinks about marriage. I've counseled young men who their wives have observed them cheating, but the young men can't see anything wrong in that. And further interaction with them has shown that, their fathers lived a boundaryless life. Sometimes
Hmm.
these young men have accompanied their fathers. So they don't even know that a man is supposed to have boundary. The things that their wives are calling flirting is acceptable behavior where they're coming from. So you need to know your history and how it has impacted you. Know yourself, and who you are and what you want, and so on and so forth. Now, then you begin to educate yourself about marriage, because like I said, the world has changed. So when I see people having all these arguments of should a man cook, or should a man do this, or should a woman do this, I always smile, because those are pedestrian conversations. In the village, the man and woman used to go to the farm, but it was not stressful for the two of them, because they just have to come out of their huts and stroll to their farm, which may be maximum 1 kilometer away. In today's world now, the man and woman are going to wake up, drives a certain kilometers for the man to drop his wife at the bus stop. The wife will enter the bus. When I was working, I was driving 22 kilometers every morning to my office, and another 22 kilometers back. So, the scenario is totally different. So, the third step is to educate yourself. Marriage in today's world, you see what your mother or father did. You have to ask yourself, is your life today the same as their own? When I
Hmm.
go to do live presentations, I have a Samsung phone that I used in 2003, and I still use a Samsung phone today. It is the same organization. The Samsung phone I was using in 2003 can only do SMS. and phone calls.
Mm.
In 2022, 20 years later, if I want to surf the internet and I carry that Samsung phone, it's a good quality Samsung phone made in 2003. It doesn't matter what I do with it, I cannot surf the internet. So
True.
if I want to use a phone in today's world to do the things that is done in today's world, I necessarily have to drop that old model and take the new model. So that's where
True.
the education comes in. And education comes in front of reading books with an open mind,
Hmm.
allowing your perspectives to be challenged, having an open mind, willing to learn, and being ready to change. Why? Because today, even if you know your partner on day one of your marriage, 5 years down the line, the world would have changed. New opportunities that you people never imagined would exist will now exist. I mean, look at me and you, Oluwayomi. We're online now. My
Yeah.
husband, I already told him yesterday evening, say, oh boy, sorry, tomorrow morning routines are changing. I will be on a show. And he said, show, okay, at 7:45 in the morning. I said, yes. Now, when Guy met me 42 years ago, there wasn't even 24-hour TV. So how could he have
Mm.
imagined that he will now have a wife who will wake up first thing in the morning and instead of getting breakfast ready, she will be on a show? But the world has changed and both of us are
True.
changing, so I'll go over it again. The first thing is, where are you coming from? And if
Mm.
you are married and you are listening to us now, you may say, if I wish I knew this then. The thing is, the best time to do anything is a long time ago. The next best time is now. When you begin to think about these things, you can prepare yourself for the remaining years of your marriage. And so you can do exactly the same thing. Where am I coming from? What did I even learn about marriage from there? What am I projecting on my partner? If my partner had grown up, if I had grown up in my partner's house, would I be thinking the way that I am thinking now? So that's step one. Step two is, what do you know about yourself? Let me share something interesting with you, Oluwayomi. During COVID-19, during COVID-19, I already had lived with my husband, I think, for about 34 years.
Mm.
And then, we were all cooped up at home. And when I'm agitated about COVID-19 and the way people are careless and we're talking about it, my husband will be very humorous. And over the years, when he does that a lot, and I'll be saying, how can you be laughing at something that is making me, that is such a serious matter? That's why I don't like talking with you. And then I was invited to speak about how couples can cope with the pressures of COVID-19. And one of the things I found out is that when some people are under stress, they use humor. So when you see people who joke a lot, it's not necessarily that they're funny. It's probably a way by which they cope with life stress. I was very shocked to discover this. I started thinking about it, and it dawned on me that my husband is as agitated as I was about stressful situations. So
Wow.
essentially, when I'm saying, why are you laughing? Why are you making a joke out of something that was serious? Essentially, what I was saying to him is that you must manage stress the way I manage stress.
Mm.
And the reason I was doing that, because I was completely ignorant, oblivious of the fact that other people manage stress using humor.
Mm.
So I had to apologize for him, number one, for 37 years of insisting that he must manage stress my way. And then I had to start accommodating him. So I
Mm.
had to be reminding myself, whenever I'm talking of something that is really agitating me and is making jokes out of it, I have to remind myself that, this joke is making, he too is as agitated as you.
Mm.
So that's why
Mm.
you have to know yourself. And when you start knowing yourself, you increase your capacity to know other people. Then the
Mm.
third step and I would say that again, is that you have to be educated. You have to educate yourself about marriage. So, for example, I say I've been married 37 years. My husband and I are now pensioners. We have an empty nest. Marriage in that state is totally different from marriage in all the other years that we have spent together.
Mm.
So I had to start educating myself again and helping my husband to understand, okay, when people are old, how are they supposed to do in marriage? What are the issues that come up at this stage of life? Because remember, both of us have walked outside of the house, we have had life, and now when we wake up in the morning, nobody is rushing anywhere. So we have to think of ways to occupy ourselves gainfully. And then we have to still be comfortable. So, when my husband is wanting to do something, I cannot be thinking, Shebi, you are at home. Why are you now doing? We still have to, we continue that pattern of, spending time apart, even though we are the same, we're in the house together, because you can't just change a pattern that you have
Mhm.
operated for very many years. At the same time, we're also saying, since we're not going out so much, we have to now consciously build activities, doing things together. Who would think that people who have been married for 37 years still have something to learn? Of course, add to it the fact that the world is also changing. So those are the three steps that I would say when I'm talking of preparation. I'm not talking of, when you go to class and they say, cook for your husband. Everybody already knows that one. Help your wife with the housework. Everybody already knows that one. However, what makes people behave the way they behave, that comes from understanding your history and your background and your experiences and exposure. That comes from understanding your personality. How should you behave? So I tell
Mm.
people that in these 37 years, I have read a lot of books. Look at my books. And I have a whole bookcase. All the books that you are seeing, they are marriage books. My husband has never read a book on marriage. He's not that kind of a person. Over the years, I just learned the habit of reading. If he didn't, I would be creating trouble. But of course, it doesn't mean he doesn't want to learn. So me, I read the book and I say, the world is changing. Can you imagine what they wrote inside this book again? And he will say what? I will tell him. What is important is that he get the information. What if I was saying, because I read a book, you must read a book too? Then that
Mm.
is where we will have trouble.
Wow, wow, wow. It's a whole lot. No, my joy is that I have Mommy Mo back in the house next week. So we'll put a pause on it today with these three major things. Know where you are coming from, know yourself, educate yourself, and you are never too late to learn. After 37 years, you're still learning. Hello. So if you are just starting, it's a long journey. And like it's been said, marriage is that school where they give the certificate at the start of the journey to know that if at this one you already succeeded anyway, so just keep going. Next week we'll go a bit differently. We will start talking about, so we've said preparing for marriage. What is courtship, dating? How do I even choose? Is there a reasonable age gap? uh should person if person is 15 years older than me or 20 years, does it matter? If we are age mates, does it matter? Must the man be older? Can the woman also be older? Those are the things we will be looking at next week when we come back on this same thing, talking about preparing for a blissful marriage. Thank you so much, Ma, for your time today. I'm so grateful. And I really look forward to having you again in the studio next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me as well. And thank you for doing this program. Programs like these are opportunities for people to have their minds shifted and to be educated. And thank you also for inviting me.
Thank you, ma'am. See you next week, ma.
All right, then.
Wow, wow, wow. That was some table shaking, or is it table breaking, or is it table destroying session? But she was just real down to earth. And I hope you were taking notes like I am taking notes. Please, if you have anyone around you who is yet to get married, send them the link to this YouTube. They need to learn it. If you have people that have been married 10, 15, 20, 30 years, still let them watch this, because it's something everybody must know. And until I come your way next week, never forget this. If you can think it, you can be it, and you can have it. And like I will always say, together we win. See you next week, and thank you so much for being on the call and for watching this. God bless you. Bye for now.